Hey guys, continuing A Dog's Purpose. We are on chapter 29, and Bear has found the town where Ethan lived at the farm, and now he's thinking that he can find Ethan. So let's find out. Chapter 29. After more than a week, I was still living in the dog park. Most days, the woman with Hannah's scent would bring her happy yellow canine, Carly was the dog's name, to the park. The smell of the girl reassured me, somehow made me feel that Ethan was nearby, though Carly never had the boy's smell on her fur, not once. Seeing the woman and Carly always brought me racing joyously out from the bushes. It was the high point of my day. Otherwise, I was a bad dog. Regulars to the park were starting to act suspicious toward me, staring at me and radiating caution as they pointed at me and spoke to each other. I no longer approached their dogs for play. "Hey there, fella. Where's your collar? Who are you here with?" a man asked me, reaching out with gentle hands. I danced back from him, sensing his intention to grab me, and not trusting the name fella. That's when I felt the deep suspicion in him, and realized my first mother had been right all along. To remain free, one had to steer clear of people. The thought My thought was to find the farm, the way I'd found the town, but that proved more difficult than I would have supposed. Whenever I'd gone for a car ride to town with Ethan or Grandpa, I'd always used the smell of the goat ranch as my point of reference, a beacon for my nose. But all traces of the goats had mysteriously vanished from the air. Also vanished was the bridge whose rattle signaled the divide between car ride and car ride in town. I couldn't find the place at all, not by smell, nor by any other sense. Padding along quiet streets after dark, I'd be confident of my direction, and then a large building would block both my path and my nose with the smells of hundreds of people and dozens of cars. A fountain of water in front of the place added even more confusion to the air, the mist carrying with it a faint chemical smell, like when Maya washed clothes. I lifted my leg against the thing. I lifted my leg against the thing, but that provided only momentary comfort. At night, my black fur felt like protection from discovery. I melted into shadows, hiding from cars, emerging when there was no one around, always on find, always concentrating on what I could remember about the farm and its scent when I breathed in the night air. Frustratingly, I couldn't pick up a trace of anything. Meals came from trash cans and the occasional dead animal by the side of the road. Rabbits were best. Crows were worst. I had competition, an animal the size of a small dog with a very heavy scent, thick, bushy tail, and dark black eyes prowled the bins, adroitly climbing up their sides. Whenever I encountered one of these things, it snarled at me, and I gave it a wide berth, seeing nothing in those teeth and claws but an invitation to pain. Whatever they were obviously too stupid to realize I was much bigger, and that they should be afraid of me. Also stupid were the squirrels in the park, who descended from their trees and bounced around in the grass as if the entire area weren't protected by dogs. I had come very close to catching one, except they always darted up trees and then sat up there complaining. Carly, the yellow dog, often joined me in the hunt, but even together we were thus far unsuccessful. I knew if we kept trying, one day we'd capture one, though I wasn't sure exactly what we would do with it. "What's the matter, honey? Why are you so skinny? Don't you have a home?" Carly's owner asked me. I picked up the concern in her voice and wagged my tail, wishing she would just take me for a car ride and drop me off at the farm. When she stood up off the bench, struggling to get to her feet, I sensed a hesitation in her, as if she was going to invite me to walk with them. I knew it would be okay with Carly, who always ran out into the dog park looking specifically for me, but I pulled away from the woman's magnetic concern, acting as if I had someone nearby who loved me and was calling me. I trotted a dozen yards away before I stopped and glanced behind me. She was still watching me, one hand on her hip, the other hand resting on her stomach. That afternoon, a truck pulled into the parking lot With such a strong dog smell, I instantly picked it up from where I lay in the grass at the edge of the park. A policeman got out and chatted with a few dog owners, who pointed at various places in the park. The policeman pulled out a long pole with a noose on the end, and I felt a chill go through me. I knew exactly what that pole was for. The policeman walked around the edges of the park, gingerly peering into the bushes, but by the time he approached my hiding place, I was gone, deep in the woods that lay beyond the park. My panic kept me running when the woods petered out into a neighborhood filled with dogs and children. I avoided human contact and did my best to stay in the foliage. I was far from town when I finally doubled back, taking comfort in the fact that my ally, darkness, was descending from the sky. When the smell of dozens of dogs drifted toward me, I turned in that direction, curious. A volley of barking was coming from the back of a large building, a couple of dogs in cages howling at each other. A shift in the wind, and they were barking at me, the timbre in their voices changing. I had been here before. This was where the nice man, the vet, took care of me when I was Bailey. It was, in fact, the very last place I had ever been with Ethan. I decided to give the place a wide berth. I scooted around to the front of the building, and as I crossed the driveway, I stopped, dead, quivering. When I was Bailey, a new baby donkey named Jasper had joined old, unreliable Flair in the yard one day. Jasper grew up to be much smaller than a horse, but was built along similar lines, and he made Grandpa laugh and Grandma shake her head. I'd been nose to nose with Jasper. I'd sniffed him carefully when Grandpa brushed him. I'd played with him as best I could. I knew Jasper's smell like I knew the farm, and there was no mistaking that scent now, right here in the driveway. Tracking back toward the building, I could find a concentrated area in the parking lot where the scent was overwhelming and fresh. There was even a dusting of straw and dirt, with Jasper painted all over it, lying thick in the gravel. The dogs were still baying at me, outraged that I was free while they were pinned, but I ignored the racket. Drinking in the rich mixture of smells in the dirt, I trailed down the driveway and out onto the road. The first time a car rushed up behind me, honking as its lights played out into the night, I was startled. So focused was I on following Jasper's scent. I veered into the ditch by the side of the road, cringing from the accusatory wail of the car as it sailed past. After that, I was more careful. While I focused on Jasper, my ears were aware of the sounds of automobiles, and I slunk away from them long before their lights picked me up. Though the track was long, it was easier than find Wally. For more than an hour I traced in a straight line, finally making a left turn, and then another. Jasper's scent was weaker the further I went, which meant I was trailing him backward, and that there was a danger I might lose him altogether. But after a right turn, I no longer needed the scent. I knew where I was. Right here was where the train crossed the road, the train that had stopped Ethan's car that first day he left for college. I picked up the pace, Jasper's scent validating the instinctive turn I took to the right. Soon I was passing Hannah's house, which curiously emitted no scent of the girl herself, though the trees and the moss-covered brick wall by the road were still the same. Turning up the driveway to the farm was such a natural move, it felt as if I had just been there yesterday. Jasper's smell tracked right up to the large white trailer, a pile of grit and hay beneath it. His odors were painted everywhere, and there was a new horse watching me with drowsy suspicion as I sniffed along the fence. But I was no longer interested in horses. Ethan. I could smell Ethan. He was everywhere. The boy must still live on the farm. Never before in my entire existence had I felt the joyous excitement that coursed through me then. I was dizzy with it. The lights were on in the house, and as I circled around to the side, staying on a small grassy hill. I could see through the window into the living room. A man Grandpa's age sat in a chair watching television, but he didn't look like Grandpa. Ethan was not in the room, nor was anyone else. The dog door was still there in the outer metal door, but the big wooden door on the inside was firmly shut. Frustrated, I scratched at the metal door, then barked. I heard vibrations within the house as someone approached. My tail was wagging so hard I couldn't sit down. It pulled my whole body back and forth. The light blinked on overhead, and the wooden door made a familiar scratching sound before it eased open. The man I'd seen sitting in the chair stood on the threshold, frowning down at me through his glasses. I scratched again at the metal. I wanted him to let me in so I could run in and be with the boy. "Hey," he said, his voice muffled by the closed door. "Stop that." I heard the rebuke, and I tried to be obedient, but my butt bounced right back up. "What do you want?" he asked finally. I heard the question in his voice, wondered what he was asking me. Then I realized I didn't have to wait for him to make up his mind. With the inner door open, the dog door was free. I lowered my head and pushed through the plastic curtain, bursting into the house. "Hey!" the old man shouted, surprised. I was surprised, too. The second I was in the house, I clearly smelled the person blocking my way. I knew who he was. I would recognize that scent anywhere. Unmistakably, Ethan. I'd found the boy. And we are going to stop right there. We will continue on Thursday. We are almost done, guys. I'm so excited. I'll see you in the next one.